Hi, everyone. I'm Nate Shear, the host of Mind Force, where we take on love, life, and learning from every angle because what's going on in your mind truly matters. Today, we have Dr. Rob Kelly, and today we'll be talking about neuroscience coaching for trauma, how Rob has a 97% success rate, and some ways to rewire your brain at home. So we're going to start with the warm-up, the who, what, why, where. So Rob, what makes you, you?
I think what makes me is everything I've done in life. I've done everything that's been presented to me. I've just ran with it. I very rarely say no to people. So I have lots of life experience. I get up every morning. I love every day. I don't have bad days. I do have better days than others, but I definitely don't have bad days today. So all my experience of suffering and trauma and alcoholism and addiction and depression is all bundled into one, which makes a great history that becomes my greatest asset.
Oh, that's awesome. So what do you currently do?
So we're psychologists, we're behavioral scientists, we're neuroscience experts, and we work with people from alcoholism, addiction, childhood trauma, depression, PTSD, Alzheimer's, and onset dementia. That's kind of what we do right now. I have 5 offices around the world. We're a multi-million-dollar company. I have 3 other companies as well, so they keep me busy over here. But I see 3 patients every 3 months, and the rest of the staff, probably hundreds and thousands every year. But I concentrate on the 3, usually A-list celebrities and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what we do, man. We write books and TV and all of the stuff that I've always wanted to do. I get up doing, meeting the people who live in $100 million houses and stuff that I would never normally see coming from the projects. So yeah, life's fascinating every day for me, Nate. It really is.
You never know where you're going to end up. So why are you here today?
Well, I have a media director, and we could be I think I'm on Rogan in about 8 weeks. We can pick any podcast we want to go on, and we turn a lot down. But her job is to scroll the internet and find a podcaster who is changing the world and has something to offer. So when we join, we can save lives, even if we just save one life. So at first, you go, I've got this such and such body. Well, who is he? Now it's like, I've got this Nate Shear. Okay, we'll see him then. I don't question her anymore because she gets the best of the best. Now, we don't care if you've got 1 million or 1 viewer. It makes no difference. It really does. If we do have 1 viewer, maybe we could change his life today. That's our job done. That's, people talk about likes and that. No, come on. We're not here for that. We're here to tell the truth. And the truth hurts. Guys, I'm telling you now, be ready, because I'm not that kind of doctor that sits back and yes, 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 no. If you suffer from the stuff we're talking about and you don't sort it out, you'll die. You will die. That's it. Finished. So either get sorted out or go drink and use or get depressed. Because we're not staying stagnant, guys. We're moving forward. Everybody can change.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, I appreciate, you coming on the show and, my many tens of listeners out there. But I love that you touch on that, because one of my very first episodes, I had Robert Swanson, and he was a retired colonel in the Air Force, and he had a few suicide attempts. And it was interesting because somebody had asked about vulnerability. They said, why would you get up there, open yourself up, to ridicule or what people are going to say or think? And I'll always remember, he's like, if I save one person, that's it, one. If this saves one person, me feeling awkward, getting on stage, traveling around, doing, the show that he does where he goes from base to base and things like that. And that's really all it is. I put in time and effort and editing and all these things. And, I want that to go towards just one person, one thank you, one whatever. That's all it takes.
Secondly, you'll never get anybody that's doing as good as you or better that negatively comment on what you do. And there's 2 kinds of people in this world. The people that love you for who you are and the people that want to be.
Wow. The last W I have for you, where in the world are you calling from?
I'm in San Antonio, Texas. Although, as you can tell from my accent, I'm not originally from Texas. But yeah, I'm in San Antonio, Texas. Been in Texas for 18 years, all the way from Manchester, United Kingdom.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm in the UK right now, 2 hours southeast of London, Mildenhall, Lakenheath.
Yeah, I know it well.
Yeah. So we'll start with the warm up. First question for you. What inspired you to explore neuroscience coaching as a way to help people overcome trauma?
It was many, 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 many years ago in 1970 something when I got to meet Arnold Schwarzenegger. And that, even though it didn't start, then it started, about 6, 7 years ago. I always remember we were talking about the mind. And I said, Arnold, very broken English. We was in a hotel room. The bodybuilding's good, but what you're going to have to do the bodybuilding. And he said, I'm going to do 3 things. And he said it so blasé, He's just like, yeah, I've got 3 things to do. I'm like, well, what is it? Well, first of all, I'm going to become the greatest, highest paid actor in the world. Well, we nearly fell off the chair because nobody knew who he was. He had Pumping Iron just come out, an underground movie, and he couldn't speak English properly. There's no way. I said, okay, what's the second one? He said, I'm going to become a governor in a state, preferably California. And I was like, yeah, I thought you needed to be a, citizen to be, I don't know. I said, okay, give us a laugh, Arnold. What's the third one? He said, I'm going to marry into the Kennedy family. Yeah. And freaking check. And from that moment onwards, it's like, oh my God, how did he know that? But when you study the neuroscience, you find out the brain doesn't know the difference between the false and the truth. You can create your own reality. Mind, energy, matter, brain. Mind over matter.
Yeah, setting those goals and getting after them. I have a previous boss that he started his assignment at a specific location, and he wanted to do all these different things and end up back at that specific location. And so all these different accomplishments and, things have to get checked, different boxes to fulfill that requirement to get back to that location. And from the very beginning, and like 20, whatever it was, years later, 23 years later or whatnot, he was back there. And I always thought that was so impressive. That same thing, like, I'm going to do it. Like, it wasn't even really an option. It was like, I'm going to come back there. And that mindset is just so powerful. Like, it's not even, it's crazy. Not even an option. It's going to happen. Next question I had for you is, can you share a personal success story that stands out to you as your journey as a coach?
With a patient, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's so many.
Mm.
And we picked this guy up from LA County Jail. And we were told, we weren't told who it was. I can't mention the name. But we were told to come down to, so we got on a plane. It was in Dallas. So we flew down there. We're in this waiting room, private waiting room, and in comes the attorneys, and this actor came in, and he's in an orange jumpsuit, and he's shackled with his spoons. I'd never seen feet shackled ever before. It was like, I've only been in the country for, I don't know, maybe 8, 9 months. It's just like, oh God, I thought you looked like Hannibal Lecter the way I'd been chained up. Anyway, they went to explain that, listen, if you don't take him, you've come on this blah, blah, blah from somebody. If you don't take him, he's going to go to jail. His acting career's over. It's already trashed because he's let everybody down. He's trashed everything around him. So I'm in court. And the judge said, will you take him? And I said, of course we will, yeah. And he said, Dr. Kelly, I need to tell you, if he goes missing, you'll be back in my courthouse again. And I'm like, with the greatest respect, I'm not taking that deal. So we're back hustling again. And then went back to the judge. Said, okay, we'll take the deal. We took their handcuffs off him in the actual courtroom, and we slapped our handcuffs on him and our bodyguard, and we took him straight to the airport. We flew into Dallas, and then we helicoptered into my ranch, and we stayed with us for 3 months. And we kind of use a lot of subliminal work when you're working with somebody, because they're not capable of believing they can be a success again. 3 or 4 days before he's going to leave, he was doing amazing. We got this parcel through the door, and I gave it to him, and he opened the thing, and it was a script for one of the highest paid grossed movie in the world ever. So much pleasure to see that happen. And there's bonus to, big rap stars, movie stars. They've all gone through the similar. And it's just nice to see that, as well as the road cleaner. It's nice to see him, be the manager of that road. It doesn't matter what it is. That look and that belief, when you take someone to a different level, that is why I get up in the morning.
That is full rewarding right there. That's some good stuff. Before we jump into your 3 main pillars, I wanted to see if you had a question for me.
I want to know where you see your podcast going in the next 5 years.
The next 5 years. Okay. So I'm about a year in, learning every single time. I think I adjust and tweak things every single time. And I think that's part of the fun that's actually really cool about it. It's interesting because my wife is super creative. She's doing cricket and making stuff for the kids and, their teachers and things like that. And I always thought I didn't have the creative side at work. analytical, making spreadsheets and things like that. And I don't have, that as much of that part of the brain. But ever since I started the show, like the creative side's the funnest part, the editing, sitting down and writing questions and, working on the outline and really having the fun coming up with all that creative aspect. It feels like I have one aspect of my brain I use at work, and I do use the analytic mind, but then when I'm at home, I get to switch over and be a little bit more fun, a little bit more creative. So the part that I was most worried about and kind of apprehensive about is actually what I find the most joy in. So I'm just going to keep learning and keep growing. And I hope that the audience grows and we continue to outreach. And like we talked about earlier, just helping people along the way. I never know what stories are going to connect with other people, what guests are going to. So really, I'm going to open the aperture pretty much as wide as I can. I'll keep, recording as much as I can. I was doing like 1 a week. I'm up to 4 a week now. I think my wife's probably gone a little crazy. See if she listens to this one. Might have to tone it down to 3 a week to make sure I'm balancing all those harmony things between family and whatnot. But yeah, I just want to keep growing, and not growing for, like you said, the likes and the popularity, but for the thanks for sharing a good story and those things like that where we're impacting people's lives. So I just hope we continue to grow and help people along the way.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, let's move into your 3 pillars. Your first one, understanding neuroscience coaching for trauma. So what exactly is neuroscience coaching, and how does it differ from traditional therapy methods?
If we look at what we knew about alcoholism and addiction, is totally, I won't say wrong, but we just didn't have enough information. So when I say alcoholics are born and drug addicts are made, people go, what? We've got to get into the neuroscience. Everything is fixable to 100%. So neuroscience doesn't focus on the alcohol, drugs, sex, food, the core of the depression, because let's just take alcohol, because I was an alcoholic and homeless and stuff like that with it. So we're looking at if I could just stop drinking. So I go into treatment for 30 days, I come out and relapse on the way home. What's going on there? What's going on? So with the stuff that's happened to me, I knew there was more. I knew there was more when they took my kids off me, ages 1 and 3, and I couldn't stop that. I couldn't stop drinking. I knew there was more when people said, well, just go to AA. I don't know what your problem is, just stop drinking. I just knew there was more to the mind and the minds and the brain. So we don't focus on the actual substance or the actual act. We concentrate on what's causing and the root cause of that act. So alcoholics are born. Neuroscience tells us alcoholics are born. Why are they born? It's a predisposition that's passed down from generation. It's the only disease you can pass down. And people are going to go up there, where's Google? And bear with me here. It's the neuroscience. And it's down to methylation. My dad had heart problems and I had heart problems. I think he's passed it down. It's methylation of protein or food that I can't methylate, becomes a deficiency, becomes an illness, probably the same as my dad's heart. So that's what we do. So we look at the actual problem, we look at the childhood trauma around that, and then we go back and we discover, discard of that situation. So alcoholics, we have an allergy to the ethanol in alcohol, and 3 parts of our brain are different to any other addiction: hypothalamus, basal ganglia, and amygdala. They're the 3 parts of the brain. They're only when the 3 parts of the brain reset at 24 hours. It's where AA think 24 hours comes. It's not theirs. It proceeds way back yet many years before alcoholics were anonymous was born. So that's the difference. We don't do traditional therapy. All our coaches are masters or PhD level psychologists, psychiatrists, or therapists. And we have a new model that works. We are very aggressive about our model, and we believe that we can reroute neural pathways away from self-sabotage into good, healthy, successful neural pathways. Now, we also believe that every single neural pathway in the human brain for success, for wealth, for health has already been built. The only thing we do is try and connect it. What happens with the childhood trauma stuff is it never connects. Like, you're going to do that, or your father said, good. And we keep missing. So when we connect, that's when great things happen, because there's no trauma there. And we believe that 300 neural pathways die every day in the brain. What are we replacing them with? Good or bad?
Yeah, that's interesting. For people that are out there that are family members or whatnot, that are out there supporting people, and they are in that mindset of, why don't you just stop? What do you have to say to family members to try to help support this member and get them back on track?
You have to remember that alcoholism is a disease, and I'll tell you why it's a disease. The hypothalamus in the brain is our survival part of the brain, next to the prehistoric brain. It's our, guts for living, and it's implanted before we're even born that we need to eat food and drink water to survive. That is it. Everything else comes second nature. And that's what happens. It becomes a working part of the mind. At a certain point of the alcoholic's drinking career, the hypothalamus turned around and told me to drink alcohol only. So there's a default setting. That's why we are born. When the survival part of my brain is telling me to drink alcohol, there's a few things happen. First of all, the choice is taken away whether I drink or not. Secondly, everything else comes secondary to my alcohol. So if it's telling me to drink alcohol to survive, even though it's completely the opposite, alcohol, it's when I go days or weeks without food or water. Alcohol is my primary survival medicine. That's why it's completely different. So, if your parents and somebody or loved one, be patient, get information at the right source. Not everybody's out there to help you. Watch what you're eating from the supermarket. Stay away from pharmaceuticals if you can, and start to clear that brain. But there's a lot of people out there who are good. That's the situation, is try and get that fine line between helping and enabling. So if your son or daughter is going through this, you've got to love, and care for them and give them a chance. But sooner or later, you've got to realize that you're enabling if the relapses keep going on, because it'll never get easy. It'll all get worse. It's a progressive illness. So if that keeps happening, you might have to step back.
So I'm actually in the military, and I think, in the military, I think we might have a little bit of a drinking problem. So I'm curious from your standpoint, a lot of people say, well, it's just for fun, or I just do it socially. And we have it ingrained in a lot of our ceremonies. So it's just like you have to go up to the bar and get one to start the night or things like that. How does someone that is listening, differentiate between I just have fun or I have a problem? What is that step, or is it just different for every person?
So alcoholics are bandied around the word. Johnny drinks a bottle of vodka, he's an alcoholic. Well, first of all, alcoholism is the only self-diagnosed illness in the world. 10 DUIs, non-American alcohol. And there's a difference between the alcoholic and somebody who abuses, somebody who drinks every night, somebody who goes to parties and makes himself. There's a huge difference. Can you trace it 3 generations back? When I take that first drink at the bar, can I stop right there? Or can I stop? They're usually the indicators. So, I got friends who drink more than me, Nate, and more often than me, but they're not alcoholic. They go crazy on it. They abuse it sometimes. They go home drunk. They might slap their wives and stuff they don't normally do, but given a reason to stop, they can stop. Alcoholics can't. So everyone's, well, what should people do? Go out, have a good time. Go drink until you throw up. I don't know. Do what you got to do, guys. And if your journey's great, your journey's great, man. And if you are a heavy drinker or, abuse alcohol, stop. Stop it already. What's wrong with you? I've got the disease. You have a choice whether you stop. I'm a father and, I've been sober 2 weeks. You're supposed to be freaking sober. That's not a celebratory occasion. What's wrong with you? Stuff like this. But when you do fall across it to alcoholic drinking, that's where the difference is.
So if you are an alcoholic, can you have just one?
Never. No. So the allergy to the ethanol and stuff sets off both in the basal ganglia, hypothalamus. It sets off like a rock going downhill, a big boulder. There's no way stopping it. And there's literally no way you can stop it. You can try a million things. You can't stop it. And it will roll until it's out of control. So any alcohol in my body, now I'm not a great believer in, I've got fishing right with white wine or something. I mean, I don't go as far as that, because alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism. And I can see people all going, what? It has 1% with alcoholism. So you just got to make sure you don't take alcoholic drinks, because it's not the drink, it's the mind around that drink. Like if you're trying to stay sober drinking non-alcoholic beer and you're an alcoholic, it won't last long, because it's not the alcohol, you see, it's this and the behavior around me that I will use my mirroring part of the brain with all my friends drinking, that I'm going to drink alcohol, not non-alcohol. Eventually it happens. So the more we know about it, the better we can look after ourselves.
So when you're out of the bar, do you have any tips or tricks? I feel like that's one time where it gets a little awkward or social if it is like an event or something, and you initially turn it down, and it feels like a lot of times like, no, just one, we're all doing it, or hey, don't be rude or whatnot. Have you come up with creative solutions to kind of ease the tension?
Of course, you can always get cocktails that look like real drinks, I guess. I personally buy a drink in a bottle. I don't put it in a glass. And I put my thumb over and I do not let that bottle out of my sight. And if anybody asks, you're not drinking anymore? Because if you think about it, everybody's drinking. If you don't drink, nobody trusts you. Okay? It's like the joke, the guy in the bar, somehow, what are you doing? He's like, I'm an alcoholic, I can't drink. And he said, what did you just say? He said, I murdered my wife and 3 of my children. Oh, God, for that. For a second, I thought, it's kind of that. So I'm running a marathon, I'm training, I'm on medication, I'm giving it a break. I mean, he's sober any month but January, sober January, whatever you need to do. But never going miserable, never be, the downer of the party. Take what you can get, have a great time. Alcohol is only 1% with your deal here. Once you get this right, the alcohol is gone. It's probably gone from the first couple of days. And off you go. But you as a sober person are more fun than you think you are. I mean, especially if you've been through the stuff I've been through with all the losses, and I died twice on the streets in England. All that stuff is like, I get 2 lives in one lifetime. That's why I'm happy most of the time. It's like, when I go to parties, go, Robert, you sure you're not drinking? I'm like, I'm having a great time. I'm the guy on the stage with the microphone and everyone else is drunk, I'm that guy. I have to be. So alcohol is not the be all and end all. You'll find out most of your friends have cut down or don't drink anymore because that's the trend right now.
Yeah, you're high on life for the bonus life. I mean, how can you not be happy when you get a bonus life? I wanted to ask, what do you think are the biggest misconceptions around recovery?
First of all, that you can't do it. First of all, that you never amount to anything. Thirdly, that once an addict's always an addict. That's not the truth. That might be a trait that you still carry, but that's not true. That it takes a long time to recover. That's not true. In fact, if you're an AA guy, look in that book, he said the third alcoholic recovered immediately. After one session here, you're immediately alcohol, drugs. That's not your problem. The problem is, can we fix here? So the repetition strength that confirms that the basal ganglia in an addict or alcoholic or depressed person is broken. And it will definitely go back. Is that the wife?
No, that's my son.
Hey, son.
He's checking in. So that rolls into the next question, which was, how does neuroplasticity play, part of the healing and transforming people's lives?
Most human beings, if not all, we have patterns every single day. And whether they're good or bad, the patterns are stick to become a working part of the mind. So let's take the basal ganglia, which is repetition strengthened. Let's say you want to drive a car or fly an airplane is 10,000 hours in the air. Driving a car, you first start to drive, it's horrible, you can't do it, you got to concentrate. A couple of months go by, you're reversing down the driveway, you're waving to your mom, you're talking to your girlfriend, and you're picking the station on the music at the same time because of working part of the mind. So there's a set of neural pathways that actually take care of that. So you don't have to think about it, so it becomes a working part of the brain. What we found out with neuroplasticity is we can remold and reshape them neural pathways for a different action and result and pattern away from the self-sabotage. Childhood trauma is the gateway drug. Everybody has childhood trauma. Even if you think you don't, stuck in the subconscious brain, unless you're absolutely amazing at something, you got a happy life, you earn $1 million, your kids are healthy, all that great stuff. But 99.9% of people walk around with the childhood trauma. So we found a way to reset the neural pathways and programming.
So I'm curious, I've had, a lot of different people on the show and talked to a lot of people at work. And one thing I find is really interesting is, like you said, trauma, and everyone pretty much has trauma. But when you ask a lot of people, it feels like about half the people are like, oh, my life was pretty normal. It was pretty boring. Why do you think that's not accurate?
Well, first of all, I asked him, after 34 years old, are you where you want to be in life? No. What happens? Well, my relationship's not going too good. I always think, work, I always signs of trauma. Everybody has it. Now, it can be from caregivers, parents, friends, teachers, people at church. But somewhere along the line, somebody said something to you that's affected your life and is stored in the subconscious brain. But you can always tell by someone's actions that's what we do. Here is where it started. And you can't put the two together. That's the crazy thing. But the reason why your relationships are terrible, the reason that you can't stay in a relationship for more than 6 or 7 months, the reason that you keep hopping from job to job or you move from house to all that trauma is trauma. So no longer do you say, well, trauma is a car crash or a divorce. No, that's for the average person. Alcoholics hear different. And when I say alcoholics, I mean every kind of addict. You hear things different. We're very sensitive to what happens around us. And what happens is we grab hold of that. I was speaking in California. There's 1,000 people there. Exactly. It clicked to me because of the fire regulations. So we knew there was 1,000. After the talk, they said, please stay around. Everyone's to shake your hand and say thank you. And let's we do it, maybe an hour. So I did. 999 people said it was amazing, mind blowing. You phenomenal. I've never heard anything like you saved my life. You're too angry and you're too loud. Have a guess who I concentrated on for the next 3 months and almost relapsed?
The one.
The one. So we got a lot of tools around that to change direction of what you do. Is like everybody thinks other people care. They don't. You wear something, crazy or whatever, people might smile and say, nobody cares.
Yeah, you always think that everyone's talking about you, and they never
Right.
are.
And then really, no. So you've got to stop that caring about what people say about you, man. If you want to change it, your life and move in a different direction, whether that get your kids back or earn $1 million, which is not hard to do, by the way. We'll go into that later, but you've got to stop caring what people think, because I'm 63 years old now, so I have a lot of life experience. And I live my life what other people are telling me. Rob, you can't do that. Oh, okay. That's stupid. Why are you wearing them pink trousers? How old are you? Oh, okay. Not anymore. I got pink trousers on now. You should wear a crazy blue shirt and a pink hat and drive extortionately expensive cars. I live in extortionate. I wear extortionate. I don't care. This is me. I thought. And what I found in my life, guys, is when you start fighting for what you want, everybody's jealous about what you have. Nobody's jealous how you got.
I love that. There's so many good things in that, because I think that's an awesome reminder of it's the little things. I think a lot of times, like when you ask people, oh, do you have any trauma? Like, oh, no, because they are looking for the car crash or some horrific event. And it's really like someone that said that you sucked over and over. Like you had talked about repetitions and, paving the way through those pathways. Like it's not big. It doesn't have to be big.
There was a patient that we had, and he'd been to all therapists and they couldn't figure out what's wrong with him. And when we took him back, we do 9D breath work and therapy. It's an amazing 9-dimensional sound therapy. And what we found is when he was 7 years old, 7, this is where it all stemmed from, right? When he was 7 years old, his dad used to be a marathon runner. So he always wanted this guy to be a marathon runner. And at 7 years old, there was a school race, okay? And there was 4 people in the race, his son and 3 other kids. The first 3 kids got a T-shirt and the last one didn't. He came in a millisecond on 4th, and his dad wouldn't speak to him for a couple of weeks. When we went deeply into that trauma, we found out that he'd been chasing that T-shirt for 40 years. Mic drop, walk away. He was flooding with tears. He's doing amazing now, but that's the little things that we have to look for,
Yeah, that is rough. You never know what that pivotal moment's going to be. The next pillar you have is your 97% success rate. So 97 is obviously super impressive. What do you think sets your approach apart from others?
Well, we're like a concierge service, first of all. Secondly, you can't buy yourself in. We've turned people down, rock stars with $1 million checks, but they weren't ready. So you have to pass an assessment for us to take you on. You can't just call, you have to be referred to me. That's unfortunately these days, but we have a bunch of staff that help working class like me people. But yeah, we concentrate on the problem and not the symptom. So I just can't stop drinking. That's not your problem. Well, I just can't eat it. Not your problem. Your problem is here. So we focus on that. We have tools like brain spotting, we have EDMR, we have, NLP, psychology, we have behavioral science, we have all this stuff that we use, but you have to pass the assessment. Because for me, when I was young and I kept failing treatment, essentially not only almost broke my mum and dad because they're working class people, but they died a lot earlier than they should. When I was homeless, they used to cry themselves to sleep every night. And I'm very aggressive at that. It's like, we are not going to take your money, period. We've got to get down to the facts, conditions here. And secondly, you hear other people, well, we have a family program. Well, what happens? Well, we bring the wife and kids in once a month into the center and we all bash dad. The family systems is this. You come on for 90 days, 1 hour a day. Telling you is what we usually do, 95%. But the wife has to come on for 2 hours a week. And the wife goes, well, it's not my problem. Well, then we can't take the patient. Well, that's it. Why is it mine? It's okay, Mrs. Johnson, tell me this. Why do you allow your husband to come home 2 or 3 nights a week drunk and you guys end up in a fist fight in front of your 6-year-old daughter? The tears start, and then we realize that our work and results and tests around that got this result. When the partner comes on with the patient's success rate goes up by 42% alone before you even touch the patient. It's like 2 houses, Nate. It's like where the patient is. Let's say, for instance, they speak Chinese And our house, different language in recovery, our house, let's say, speaks English. So we pick the guy out, put him in our house, we get him treated, we learn him how to speak fluent English, then we take him up, this is the treatment model, and we put him back in the house who speaks fluent Chinese. Guess what's going to happen? He's going to start speaking Chinese again because they're not on the same language. So what we do is we treat him and we treat him or them. So by the time he gets back in the house, everyone's speaking the same language and everyone knows what's going on. And that's the biggest, that's why 3, 4, 5%, I'm not banging treatment centers. There is loads that are amazing, absolutely mind-blowing that we use. But there are a lot of cowboys there. If you're accepting little Johnny into your treatment center for the 3rd time and still charging them 20 grand a month, shame on you. What the hell are you teaching them? So when you get down as this is life or death, and because I will go to any length. I will follow you. I will track your car. I will call the police if you drink driving. Yeah, we'll do anything to make sure that you're straight and you really, really want this. And I think that's the difference is I stopped drinking 1,000 times, Nate, but I could never stay stopped. And the reason why I couldn't stay stopped is I was disgusted with my life and my childhood trauma was killing me on a daily basis. So I hung around the same guys that were in that situation because the mind attracts the same energy as you. Hang around 9 depressed people, you'll become the 10, that kind of thing. All the guys on the projects, I love them to bits. I can go back and help them, but I can't live there anymore.
Yeah, it reminds me of training dogs, which that's probably, I don't know if that's a messed up comparison to humans, but I've seen a lot of dog trainers where the dog trainer wants to come in and train the dog, make it all do the things it wants, play the tricks, and then give it back to the owner. But the owner doesn't know how to, work the dog. And so they just go right back to where they are. So the more successful ones that I've seen, not that I'm expert on dog training at all, but they usually train the owner on how to handle things like exiting the door and having the dog wait or things like that. Because if they do all the training, get them squared away in just a few tricks, and then give them back, then you're just back to where you were.
I have a friend that does that. And when people say, what do you do? He said, I train people that have dogs. They go, what? So yeah, I train the person. Yeah. I think Caesar said that many years ago in his program on TV. He says, not the dog, it's the human being. We don't get it. It's the same with this. You don't get what the real problem is, but you keep masking it and putting band-aids on. You keep relapsing. You keep being depressed. PTSD is getting worse. And sooner or later, you're going to die. Because that's what happened to my brother-in-law. He was at a party with my wife before I met her, probably about 15 years, 16, 17 years ago. He was an alcoholic. He was trying to stay sober. It was all at a barbecue. Him, his kids, his wife, brothers, they were all having a great time. And he said, hey, I just need to nip home for something. I'll see you in a bit. And Jenna said, if you don't come back tomorrow, I'll pick you up at 10. He said, I can't wait. I'll see you there. Walked back to his house, got out the car sober, walked into the garage, blamed his head on. That's depression. Alcoholism, that's thing. You've got to look at these signs. There's loads of signs, but in the past, because of lack of neuroscience information, we're looking for the wrong things.
I'm curious, what common barriers do people face when trying to rewire their brain, and how do you help them overcome those challenges?
Well, I think I can do this. I'm not good enough. Mom says I could never do this. Dad, blah, blah, blah. This thing going round and round and round. So what happens is they get to a certain point and they back off. People with trauma are very good at starting things, but they never finish them. Because, if I want to start a business, but I don't know. Where'd you get that from? Where'd you get that? I don't know from. Well, it was my dad. Really? Can I teach you 2 words? Says who? And once they hear that everything is, and I tell them a bunch of stories that, patients or even Donald Trump, I'm not into politics. They've done nothing for me. Whoever's running the country, I don't get into that. But when you, let's take it back a few years. When you have a businessman running the country with no political experience whatsoever, don't you dare tell me you can't achieve your dreams. Just not true. Somebody's put that there. I want to apologize to you. Somebody's put that there.
Yeah, you can accomplish anything. You can actually get convicted and become the president for a second time.
Anything you want. If you've got the mindset, if you've got the go and get stuff, you're going to fail 1,000 times. Again, look at the Beatles and J.K. Rowling. They failed so many times, but they didn't give up. They kept going back because it wasn't their dream. When it's your time, that idea, that dating that girl, buying that car, that house, that's business, it'll be right and you'll be able to go forward and you'll find all this you've been through that's been weighing you down transfers into becoming one of the greatest assets you will ever have.
I always love the example of WD-40, that lubricant that's in everyone's house, probably 2 or 3 bottles. it was the 40th recipe of that. So there was 39 other versions of that bottle that sucked.
Wow. I
If they
love
would have
that.
quit at 39, we would never know.
Exactly.
They pushed on for number 40. So I'm curious with this 97%, how do you measure success in that coaching and what factors contribute to that positive outcomes? You said kind of bringing more people in.
So the mindset completely when they leave us is completely changed. When the energy, so the mind runs the day over energy, okay, but the subconscious brain wakes us up because of lack of oxygen. You have to program the mind to run the brain, every single one. So what we do, by the time they leave, when the mind connects with another energy, I don't care if it's Uncle Jimmy or universe, when our mind connects with another energy and your neural pathways change is what we do, your DNA changes. Go Google it, guys. So you're not the same person when you leave us. And then what we do is when they leave us for the first year, they get a call them on. Hey, you doing okay, buddy? Yeah, great. Just checking in on you. If you need anything, if Dr. Rob's available, just text me. I'll get you in the room right now with him. So the support is always there. After the first year, we kind of go to like once every 6 to 8 weeks. And then we back off. And our 10 and 15 and 20 year guys, probably once every 6 months or once a year, but we keep track of them. Now, there are some people who's left and not followed our program. That's not what we're talking about. We say we have a 98, so I say 98, 98% whilst following our program. So there have been hundreds that hasn't, and you're not doing our program. That's where we measure our success rate. And again, once your DNA changes, it's very hard to change it back.
Yeah, that makes sense. And your final pillar is rewiring your brain at home. So for someone looking to start rewiring their brain at home, what are some practical techniques they can try today?
Oh my God, I'm going to blow your mind, guys. Fine from tomorrow. Okay. So bear with me here while I tell you the pre-story. Between the hours of 2 and 5 when a normal circadian sleep pattern is when the body is at its lowest. So there's no oxygen or very little oxygen. The presence of oxygen equals a lack of disease. Every single disease of the human body starts in a hypoxic area, every single one. So with low breath in the morning, that's why nobody's ever woke up laughing, because laughing requires oxygen. The subconscious brain, who thrives in hypoxic situations, wakes us up. Bit tired, bit depressed, oh my God, cast down. This guy wakes us up, okay? This guy is going to ruin your day. This guy is the guy that's moping all the time, steals from work. This guy wakes us up in the morning. How do we get rid of him? Okay, you need to take 20 exaggerated breaths in and out. One of the reasons we feel so good going to the gym is not the exercise, it's this in between sets. What they call a runner's high isn't the running, it's the body being flooded of oxygen. That's where we get, oh my God, it's amazing. So when you do your 20 exaggerated breaths 20 times in the morning, this is what happens, guys. You've got every cell in the body flooded with oxygen. So you see this guy's subconscious mind is gone. And what happens is you alert the conscious mind. The conscious mind is now. So in this moment is where this guy is. You can achieve anything that you want to achieve with this guy running. Well, the problem is, of course, who wakes up tomorrow morning? This guy wakes us up tomorrow morning. So this is a daily thing as we go out. So now we've got our breath work. Now I've got our body flushed with oxygen. We're capable of a lot of things. Walk into the bathroom. If you brush your teeth with the right hand, 1 week left, 1 week right, 1 week left, 1 week right, for 30 days, we're changing patterns and neural pathways around in the brain. So rather than going for the same routine, we're disrupting them patterns, because this here, brushing with the right, is probably why you're doing this over here, because the pattern has never changed. So the pattern from the brushing goes back to the childhood trauma. It's never changed. Well, if you're changing things every week, then your pathways are slipping over and they can't have a fixed pattern because it's all constantly being changed. The third one is, I need you to get in front of the mirror and say, I love you 10 times. Bear with me. Sounds stupid. It's embarrassing. What happens is this: 300 neural pathways, like we said, die in the subconscious brain. We're replacing part of them with I love you straight into the subconscious brain. Now, here's the key, though. Don't stand up close to the mirror like when you're shaving or putting makeup on, girls, and try and do it then, because we see all our blemishes close up. When you step 6 feet away, the optical illusion is our blemishes go, because we think when we look in the mirror, that's how people see us. How many times have you gone into work, guys? Hey, Jimmy, how you doing? We just don't do that. So when we step away and our blemishes go, that's the real vision of what people see us. And with that alone, boost our confidence. And so the breath work, the mirror work and the teeth work, walk out the door tomorrow, you'll have an amazing day. I promise you. And please, 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 please don't write it. Well, it didn't work for me. You didn't do it properly. It's physically, ecologically impossible when you flood your brain not to change. It's impossible. That's childhood trauma. Always don't get one that's trying to prove you. Just do as you're told, do the work. You'll feel better. Go on and conquer the world. Man. Build an empire. Why can't you? Well, shut up. Build an empire. If you hate your work, if Sunday morning you get that feeling because it's work tomorrow morning, get another job. If you're coming home to your wife or husband every night and you're walking around in eggshells and you always get another wife or husband. Well, it's really not that easy. It really is that easy because you get one shot of this game. Moms, everyone thinks you've got time. Moms, when's the last time you said this? Well, 1 minute I'm waiting them off to kindergarten. Next minute, I'm waiting them off to college. That's how fast time goes. You don't have time, guys, because what happens is one day you're going to wake up at the age of 65, 70 and go, what the hell just happened? And why didn't I do this? You haven't got time. Date that girl, ask that guy, buy that house, start that empire, whatever it is, do it today. It's 2025. If you can't build a business or empire sat at home on your laptop, I don't know what you're doing wrong, guys. Let's say you like knitting, guys. Let's say you like knitting and you make these nice socks for all the family. Get a website. GoDaddy, $6. Brilliant. The cards of Vistaprint, $9. Okay? So for a little and under $20, you've got yourself a business and business cards. You might sell one a month, man. But you know something?
Yeah.
You keep doing that, man, and you will eventually start to earn more money than any job could offer you. That's how you build empires.
That's perfect. Yeah. It reminds me, I lost my dad at 50, and that's like one of those things. It's one of those pivotal moments for me where life is short, and I remember the places he wanted to go and the things he wanted to do and, ultimately didn't get to. Went through that long fight through cancer and, didn't end up winning. And so that's one thing I've always kind of been happy-go-lucky and, try to make the most of the moments. But that was like really doubled down and solidified that trait throughout, all of me where, if the kids want to do something or we're just going to have a little bit more fun because you just don't know, no one really thinks it's going to be 50.
Her mom and dad died of Alzheimer's and he died because she died kind of thing, broken heart, which is a real thing. And they kept saying that, Nate, well, we're going to save up, and he retired, we're going to do it. And they kept saying that, man. And we're in like the 70s and, they died and they left. I mean, they were just normal workers. She was a housewife. He worked at the electric company. That's all they did. But he was dabbled on the stock market. They died with $1.9 million in the bank.
Wow. And you can't take it with you.
Can't take it with you.
Can't take it with you.
Create them memories. Take as many photographs as you can. Dance when everybody's watching you. Laugh. Kiss the baby, hug people, all that stuff, man. It just boosts them 4 chemicals every day you need to be happy. The 4 chemicals need to happen, guys. And if they don't, you're not going to be as happy because most people walk around 40 to 50% of their capability today because they're lost. We lost our identity, guys.
Yeah, that's good stuff. What tools or resources do you suggest for people that want to deepen their understanding of neuroscience-based healing?
Get into what's called 9D Delta. 9D. Jump on my website, you'll see it. We're not trying to sell it. You can go somewhere else. But you need to try a few sessions of that to get an understanding how neuroscience affects. It's a 9-dimensional talking app. You have to wear headphones and blindfold that takes you on this journey. And you realize from the first session that your mind has just changed. It gives you a good idea how powerful neuroscience is. And neuroscience challenges most addictions. We've put food to addiction. We've joined up. We put food to Alzheimer's. We put food because we don't eat real food. 90% of the supermarket stuff is sprayed in cornstarch or starts with canola oils, sunflower oils, stuff that's healing oils. So once you try and address all of that, you'll realize and get more into neuroscience as your own body clears. And then you start questioning things around you. It's like, did I really not achieve there? Why did not I achieve? And then the simple 9D and brain spotting are the 2 biggest things we use to get rid of trauma and redirect neural pathways. Neuroscience is very, very interesting. And you probably know about 1% of what the mind and the brain is capable of doing.
Just scratched the surface. Well, we went over your 3 pillars. They were really powerful. So I'd like to try to bring it all together. Looking at your work and success, what's your final takeaway you hope listeners will remember about healing and brain rewiring?
It's that you can do this, guys. It's not hard to achieve your dreams. Once you reset and move forward, with somebody who knows what they're doing, it's the greatest thing you'll ever do. And again, you haven't got time to do it today. Do it today. Capable of living a full and rich life. No addictions. No, when you get into what causes cancer, again, it's not as you think it is. It's not just random. And I hate to say that without telling you everything else for the next 3 hours, but start to question things around you. Question the people around you. You can't stick with the same guys that's doing the same old thing and, stuff like that. Like I said before, I can go back and help them, but I can't live there anymore. You've got to become this new person that you believe in. And the most vital, important thing I need to say today is watch your internal dialogue. Internal dialogue becomes basal ganglia, becomes working part of the brain, becomes actions. And once you start that, it's easy to fall out. But if you're hanging around guys that have the same pattern as you, which is negative and self-sabotaging, you won't think the pattern's wrong. Because it's really hard for one person to change. Let's say you have 9 people around you right now and they're negative. You're not going to be able to do that. But if you find 9 friends and you're negative, they're going to change you. And this is the experiment we did across that. We brought 9 actors into our waiting room and 1 patient that we said, come in, I'll give you a free session of 9D. It's like, oh my God, Dr. Rob, I'm so excited. So they came in. She didn't know nothing about it. She just thought they were other patients waiting to come in. The actors were told every 45 seconds you'll have a buzzer. When that happens, I want you to stand up, all of you, wait 5 seconds, sit down. And I want you to continue doing that until we call you in one by one. Brilliant. No problems, they said. Sure enough, she comes in, she's the 10, she sits down. 45 seconds, all the actors stood up. And she kind of looked at them and went back to her phone. They all sat down. 45 seconds. Everyone stood up again. Now the phone is down in her lap and she's looking around going, what's going on? The third, she stood up like everybody else and she sat down with everybody else, which was obviously interesting. As we brought the patient, the actors in one by one, and she was the only person left in the room. Anyway, she stood up. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future.
Surround yourself with good people and make sure your inner dialogue is a positive inner monologue. Well, thank you, Dr. Rob, for coming out. I want to ask the listeners to provide feedback. Your feedback makes this podcast even better. Drop your thoughts or questions on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, or Buzzsprout. And thank you for being a part of the Mind Force journey. I love you all. See ya.